Hello, my name is Mary. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to do a little flow designed specifically for pickleball players. Use this flow on your days off. Let your body recover and restore, gain some flexibility and mobility. I'm going to be using a couple of blocks for practice. You don't need them. They come in handy sometimes. Listen to your body as you're practicing. If something doesn't feel right or you're feeling pain, make smaller movements or discontinue the movement altogether. So let's begin. If it's comfortable to be seated cross-legged, do so. If not, you could have your legs out in front of you. You could do this beginning part in a chair as well. So make yourself comfortable. We're just going to take a moment to settle in. So wherever you're at, feel yourself landing. So even weight on your sitting bones wherever you're sitting. Take a moment just to notice your breath. Notice how your body moves as you breathe. Maybe you have a noticing of the sensation of breath. Maybe you can feel the air tickling your nose or your upper lip. Take a moment to notice any sensations in your body. Do you have any spots that feel stiff or sore? And if so, set an intention for your practice to really take care of those areas, not to overdo it. All right, let's get started with our practice. So we're going to do a few movements using our breath to help us move. So with your arms alongside your body, you'll lift your arms up as you take a breath in, and then just let your palms come down as you exhale. Let's do that a couple times with your breath. So breathing in as you rise, exhaling as you lower. So you don't have to stay synchronized to what I'm doing. Let your breath lead you. Let's do one more of those. And exhaling, hands down. Now place your hands on your knees. We're just going to do a gentle twist. We'll turn our body one direction, keeping your spine straight. Just moving one way. We'll come back to center. And then let's do that a couple times to the same side. Thinking about incorporating breath, exhaling as you twist, keeping your spine straight, crown lifted, inhaling back to center, exhaling and inhaling. Now bring your chin towards your chest, and we're just going to take a little lean forward and then rise up. And then let's do the other side. So tall spine, exhaling, twist to the other side, back to center. And we'll do that a couple times, just following the natural flow of your breath with your movement. Let's do one more of those. Back to center, and then let's bring chin towards chest, a little fold forward. Take an extra breath here, and then when you breathe in, let yourself rise up back to a seat. So now we'll take a breath in, sweep arms up, and then we're going to lean to the side. And then breathing in, really extending the spine, and then lean to the other side. So let's do that a couple times with breath, breathing in and out. Again, if it feels like this is a lot on your shoulders, or if it doesn't feel good on your shoulders, you could maybe just do a little lean to the side as well. And then we'll come back to center, and then we'll transition so that we're in an all fours position, often called tabletop. As you're coming to your all fours, your knees will be about hip width distance apart. Spread your fingers wide. Check in with your elbows. If they feel like they're really locked, see if you can find a little softness. I'll lead you through two poses, cat and cow. So we'll start with cow pose. So you'll bring your chest forward and tilt your tailbone up. That's cow pose. And then round the spine, so arching your back up, tuck in your chin and tailbone. This is cat. Now let's cycle through these two poses. So breathing in as you come to cow, and then exhaling as you come to cat. And just follow your breath as you move, no hurry. Just kind of really feeling into the movement. See if you can let your whole breath last the length of the movement. So exhaling all the way to cat. Inhaling breath in all the way to cow. Now we'll come back to a neutral spine. Step your right foot back, and then we're just going to do a little rock back and forth. So stretching the heel towards the back, so getting a calf stretch. And then you might hold that stretch, just breathing in a couple breaths in and out. And then you'll bring your left hand right underneath your face, and then we're just going to open up, lifting the right arm up. And then we'll come back down, make your way back to all fours. We'll take a little sink towards child's pose. Sometimes child's pose is a lot at the beginning of practice. You can stay up on your forearms. If you do have a block, sometimes it's nice to rest your forehead on the block. So it should feel restorative. If it feels like you can't get enough breath, you can always come up on your forearms or back to all fours. So let's do the other side. So now we'll come and step our left foot back. Again, starting with a little rocking just to feel if that calf is tight. Maybe hanging out with your calf stretched for a couple of nice breaths. And then placing your right hand right underneath your face, lifting your left arm up. And then we'll come back down. Now, from your all fours position, we'll come to a downward dog. So once again, spreading your fingers, curl your toes. What we're going to do is lift our hips up high, but you can keep your knees quite bent. So lifting your hips up, but see if you can let your neck be soft so that your head is heavy. It might feel good to pedal feet here. If it feels a lot on your wrist, you could come up to forearms so you can experiment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to walk our feet up to our hands. We'll come to a pose called half lift. So your spine will be straight, crown of your head reaching forward. Your hands could go on your thighs or shins. We'll take a breath in, and then we're going to exhale, but your knees can be quite bent. As you fold forward, you might place your hands on a block. See if you can let your neck be soft, head heavy, so it feels like you're creating space in your spine. Again, your legs don't have to be straight, just be comfortable. Feet really planted, even weight on both feet. And we'll take one more breath here, and then we're going to slowly rise up. Keep your chin tucked to your chest as you rise. And then when you come to standing, sweep your arms up. We're just going to take a little lean to one side, reaching up towards the sky, maybe standing on your tippy toes, and then going to the other side and back to center. Let your arms come down. So now we'll move these blocks out of the way. I'll lead you through one round of a sun salutation. So you'll start at the top of your mat, feet grounded, softness in your knees, tall spine, shoulders down and back. And then we're going to take a breath in, sweep your arms up. As you exhale, fold. You could place your hands on blocks or tent your fingers. We're going to step back into a low lunge. And then
planted hands, step your left foot back to downward dog. As you breathe in, come to all fours, and then sink down to child's pose. Check in with your breath when you're ready to take a new breath in. Back to all fours. Curl your toes, lift up to downward dog again. You don't have to keep your legs straight. Your knees can be bent. Walk your feet up to your hands to half lift. Exhale, fold. Again, you could use blocks as you fold. And we're going to keep our knees bent, and then we're going to rise up to a pose called chair pose. So your weight will be in your heels, but we want to keep our chest up. So you could have your hands on your heart or arms lifted. So this is a great pose for strengthening the legs. So we'll take a breath in and out, and then let yourself rise up. Hands to heart and down to your sides. So let's step back with the left leg now. So take a breath in, reaching up, exhale, fold. You can bend your knees, tented fingers. Now left foot steps back to a low lunge. And then planted hands, right foot steps back, downward dog. As you breathe in, come to all fours, and then let yourself sink to child's pose. And then with a new breath in, back to all fours. Curl your toes, lift your hips high and back, downward dog. And then walk your feet up to your hands to half lift. Exhale, fold, knees bent, and let yourself rise up to your chair pose. And we'll take a breath or two here. And then launch up, reaching up high. Let your hands come to your heart and down to your sides. So now we'll come to the front of the mat. Actually, I'll come to this side first. So come into your mountain pose, feet grounded, tall spine, shoulders down and back. Place your hands on your hips, and then we're just going to trace our left foot back. You can have a slight angle in your back foot. So take a moment to see how this feels. What we want is even weight on both of your feet. So you might kind of lean a little forward and back. And then we'll have our right knee bent. What we're going to do is turn our chest and hips to the left. Check in with that right knee. Sometimes that has a tendency to roll in. See if you can keep that aligned. You might have to adjust your feet. So be comfortable and solid in your stance. Then bring your arms out to the side for warrior two. Sometimes shoulders can get a little tight, so sometimes I like to just flap my wings like a bird. Just land in your warrior two. Take a moment, just notice your breath. With your breath in, flip your right palm. We're going to reverse. So your left hand will come behind, right arm reaches overhead. And then we're going to come back to warrior two. So you'll be gazing out over your right fingertips, and then bring right elbow towards right knee. Left hand can come to left hip, keeping your heart open. If your heart stays open, you might decide to lift your left arm up to the sky. And we'll take a breath here. And then press back up to warrior two. Now, we're going to straighten our front leg. Left arm drapes behind. We're going to reverse again. So flip your right palm, reaching overhead. This time your right leg is straight. And then we're going to transition to triangle pose. A block might be nice here. So we'll left hand on your hip. Maybe your hand comes to your right thigh or shin or a block, keeping your heart open, maybe lifting your left hand. So we'll take a breath here. Now, bend your right knee back to warrior two, and then place your hands on your hips, and we're going to step our back foot
to meet our front, back at our starting point. So let's do that series on the other side. So we'll start in our mountain pose. Hands to hips. This time we're going to trace our right foot back, slight angle on your back foot. So have a stance that feels solid and comfortable. Take time to, you can move your feet closer together. You can have your feet wider apart, like hip distance apart. So see where you feel solid and comfortable, where your weight is evenly distributed on both feet. So once you've found that spot, we're going to turn our chest and hips to the right, making sure that right knee doesn't come along for the ride, and then bring your arms out to the side for warrior two. Gaze out over left fingertips. Landing, shoulders soft. Flip your left palm, right arm drapes behind for reverse. And then we're going to come into side angle. So right arm drapes behind, left arm can come towards the elbow, drawing right shoulder back to keep your heart open. Maybe your right arm lifts. If you notice a lot of weight on your elbow, you can lift up just a little bit using your core strength. So smooth, steady breath, and then pressing up to warrior two just for a beat. Straighten your front leg, right arm drops again. Flip your left palm, reverse triangle. And then making your way towards triangle. So reaching with your left arm till you can't reach anymore, and then decide to place your hand on your thigh or shin. A block also might feel nice. Again, keeping that right shoulder drawn back. Your hand could be at your hip, or you could lift your right arm up. Now bend your front leg back to warrior two. Hands to hips. Step your back foot to meet your front. Make your way to mountain pose. So now we're going to do a similar thing. Most of your weight to your right foot, stepping your left foot back. This time we're coming to a warrior one position, so your chest and hips will be forward. So we'll take a moment in warrior one. So front knee bent, back leg straight and strong, even weight on both of your feet. Now we're going to step the back leg up just a little bit and straighten the front leg. So you'll have two straight legs. What we're going to do is come to pyramid pose. We're going to hinge at the hips. This is where I really like a block. So what you want is your neck relaxed so that your head is heavy, and then letting yourself be soft as you fold. This is a great pose for lengthening hamstring and calf, creating space in your spine. And we'll take a couple of easy breaths here. Notice if you have tension in your face or jaw. See if you can soften. Now, bend your front knee, and we're going to rise up, hands to hips. Step your back foot forward. Take a moment in mountain pose. And then bring most of your weight to your left foot as you step your right foot back, setting up for warrior one on this side. So bent left knee, hands to heart. We'll just take a breath or two here. And then hands to hips, straighten your front leg, step your back foot a little closer. We're going to hinge at the hips. If it feels like too much, you can always step that back foot a little bit closer too. So you have agency to decide how far you want your stance. But wherever you're at, see if you can really let your neck relax so that your head is heavy. And take a few easy, solid, full breaths here.
And then bend your front knee, rise up, step your back foot up, and come to mountain pose. So for the next set of poses, we're going to come into dancer pose. It's great for stretching out the quads, the front of your thighs. It's really nice to have a wall, so you can use the wall for support. What we're going to do is bring most of the weight to the left foot, so then you can bend your right knee. So this might be where you stay, because that might be enough of a stretch. You can kick your knee back. So maybe you're feeling enough stretch there. Another option is to hold on to your right foot with your right hand. So this might be a great stretch for you. So decide, you definitely don't want to overstretch, because then your muscles just lock up and you don't really get a stretch at all. So then the next option is a little bit further away from the wall, kicking a little bit forward. So you'll be reaching forward with your left hand and then kicking your right foot into the palm of your right hand. So again, the wall is great for support. You could maybe like say, hey, I'm balancing. Oops, I'm going to fall. Use the wall. Kind of pivot between those two. Let's take, wherever you're at, a couple of really nice, even breaths. And then we'll come back to standing. Just take a moment. And then let's do the other side. So we'll switch weight to the right foot. Wall is there for support. You might bend your left knee, see how that feels. Maybe holding on to your left foot with your left hand. And then if you want to come into a fuller extension of dancer, kicking that back foot back as you reach and lean forward. And again, the wall is nice to give a little extra support, maybe give you a little bit of extra stretch. Letting the wall go, maybe coming up a little bit, less stretch, more balance. So you decide what you need. And then we'll come down. We'll take a breath in. Now, we're going to fold, bend your knees a lot, because we'll come to all fours. And then we'll come to a seat. As you're coming to your seat, let your legs be wide. We're going to sweep our arms up. We're going to take a little turn towards one leg and then fold. And we'll take a couple of breaths here. Seeing if you can find some softness in your upper body. And then when you take your breath in, you can rise up, sweep your arms up, and then we're going to take a little turn towards the other leg and fold. And just easing in, soft shoulders, soft neck. Sometimes it feels nice to bring the chin towards the chest. You can experiment with that. And then with a breath in, rise up. Now we'll come to our mat and we'll have straight legs, even weight on both of your sitting bones. So we're going to fold forward with mostly straight legs, chin towards chest, fold over. So maybe your hands are on your thighs or shins. If they come to your toes, that's an option as well. And we'll just take a couple moments just feeling the length that you're creating along the back side of your body. You might start to use a breath where your exhale is longer than your inhale. So for example, you might breathe in for a count of 3, and then exhale for a count of 4 or 5. That's just a suggestion. Maybe you inhale for a count of 2, exhale for a count of 3. Using that extended exhale breathing is a way to bring yourself into parasympathetic nervous system or rest and digest. And when you're in that relaxed state,
That's when you can really lengthen and stretch your muscles. So now we're going to bend our knees, take a breath in. We're going to fold forward again, but this time we're going to drape our upper body over our thighs. Bring your chin towards chest. This is a great one to help stretch out the low back. So for straight legs, you get more of a hamstring stretch. For this one with bent knees, more of a low back opening and stretch. So take a couple of those extended exhale breaths. And then we're going to come up, rise up with your breath in. We'll come to a butterfly pose. So soles of your feet together, even weight on your sitting bones. This might be enough of a stretch for you, so you might stay here with a straight spine and take a couple breaths. Another option is you can fold, so you can bring your chin towards your chest. Your forearms will come towards your shins and fold over. So this is a really nice hip opener. And then with your breath in, you'll rise up, knees bent. We'll take just a moment for boat pose. I like this pose because it really is nice for strengthening the core. So what we're going to do is find a spot on your sitting bones and then lean back. So feel your core engage, chest lifted. So now you have options. You could bring your hands down and let your feet come up, shins parallel. You might let your feet down and just lean back with your arms up. Maybe legs and arms up. Maybe coming into more of a V into boat pose. And then the tricky part is making sure you have a nice, easy breath. And then give yourself a big hug. And then we'll come onto our backs. As you're coming to your back, you'll have your knees up, so your feet lifted. We're just going to take a few little rocks from side to side. And then land in the center, both hands to right knee. Let your left leg go long. And then switch hands, both knees to chest, right leg long. And then alternate. Once you have the movement down, it might be an inhale as leg stretches long, exhaling knees to chest, inhaling opposite foot long. You can let your foot rest on the ground or you can let it hover. That's up to you, whatever feels best. Sometimes you get a little bit more of a little flexor stretch if you let your heel land. So one more on each side. And then we're going to bring our arms out like airplane wings. We're going to take a little lean to the right and back to center. We'll do that 2 more times. Just getting a little lumbar spinal twist. And then come back to center, knees towards chest. You could even bring your forehead up towards your knees. And then land, and we'll do the other side. So knees to the left and back to center. And then knees to chest again. And then let your feet land, arms by your side. We're just going to let our hips lift up for bridge pose, arms by your sides, and lower down. So let's do that 2 more times, lifting up. Maybe your arms lift overhead, maybe not, depends on what your shoulders feel like. And lower down, and then let's see if we can coordinate that with breath. So breathing in as you rise, maybe arms lift overhead as your hips lift, and lowering down. Let everything land, cross right ankle over left knee. You might stay here. You could lift your left foot up
Another option is to thread your right hand through the triangle in your leg and hold on to the back of your left thigh. So that's another option. Option to be still, option to do a little rocking from side to side to perhaps isolate a spot that might be particularly sore. Nice, steady, even breath. This would be a nice place to use that extended exhale breath. And then both legs down. Let's do the other side. Cross left ankle over right knee. Stay here. Maybe lift your right leg, perhaps holding on to the back of your right thigh. And you could spend a little bit time rocking from side to side. If you do find a particularly tight spot, sometimes it's nice to land on that spot and just breathe into it. Using that extended exhale breath, perhaps finding some release. Okay, so now let hands and feet up towards the ceiling. Do a couple wrist and ankle rolls. So we'll go one direction and then the next. And then we'll come into our final pose of Shavasana. So stretching your arms one direction, legs the next. Traditional Shavasana, your legs are in a V, your palms are open, arms by your side. But if this does not feel good to you, find a spot where you can come to stillness. And we're just going to breathe for a little bit. So don't skip this part. This is a great way to end your practice. So as you're focusing in, notice all of the points of your body that are connecting with your mat. And then once you connect, just let yourself land in those spots. And then we're just going to take a couple breaths. So as you breathe in, perhaps imagine air coming to the crown of your head. As you're exhaling, imagine that air traveling all the way down your body, down your spine and legs to your toes. And then inhaling back up, imagining the air moving from your legs to spine to torso to crown. So just follow that breath a couple of times, exhaling and inhaling, air moving through your body. And let yourself come back to your normal cadence of breath. Start to wiggle fingers and toes. And take any other movements that might be calling you. And then roll onto a side and take a moment to thank yourself for taking the time to restore and rejuvenate and take care of yourself so that you can get back on the courts and play your best games. So now make your way to a seated position. And when you arrive, draw your hands to your heart. Thank you so much for practicing with me, for sharing your breath and your presence. I bow in gratitude. Namaste.